face planting hard during the Air Force graduation. The big guy trying to laugh off his embarrassing tumble. While his White House says there's no need to worry.
He tripped over a sandbag on the stage, and briefly he tripped and got up, and he got right back up and continued what he was there to do. He did not, there was no need for the doctor to see him as it was related to the fall, and he's doing fine.
Biden's pals in the liberal media are covering for him by accusing Republicans of pouncing.
Biden has this misunderestimated thing, right, where people assume, oh, he's too old, he doesn't know what he's doing, and then he just keeps delivering. Today he tripped over I guess there was like a sandbag on, and Twitter and the right are going crazy. If the advance team or whoever's fault that they put a sandbag in front of him, I tripped in my own house. Is he so enraging to the right because he is so normal?
I'm voted 2 years old with president, and I do just fine. I don't want to have a fall. If I do, I hope I get out as he did.
But given voters' concerns about the president's age, this is an image that his critics are already capitalizing on and pouncing on.
And while the majority of Americans are concerned about a second Biden term, Jen Psaki sees the bright side of the president's problems, but she had to smear Republicans as racist to do it.
If you look back, Joy, to 2020, they were trying to figure out how to take him out. They can't make him extreme. They can't really make him offensive.
Nah, that ain't gonna work.
One, he's a white man.
Good luck out there.
Older, so he is comfortable. He's many in their base. The many in their base. But I think also they have underestimated him at many times.
Well, Bernie Sanders is old and white, and I feel very comfortable demonizing him, Sandra.
Because of his socialist policies, I hope, Jesse. This Biden fall, I think, brings into question age in a greater way for both parties. And I think that's an important point to make as we enter the 2024 election. I actually found a local news article to where the president was that day asking, is this fall a downfall for older politicians for both parties? So take into account former President Donald Trump, 77 years old. He'll be 77 in June, right? 76 today, 77 in a few days, 78 come election day. Joe Biden at 80, he'll be 82 come election day, 86 if he finishes a second term in office. I think people don't want to see their parents fall. They don't want to see their grandparents fall. They certainly don't want to see the President of the United States, their President of the United States fall. The White House today could have answered the question. He went to the doctor. Why didn't he go to the doctor? Why wasn't he checked out? She was asked the question out of the gate at the White House today. They're brushing it off as expected, but there's going to be a bigger and bigger question for both parties with age. If people don't like seeing this happen, and they're going to continue to elect older white leaders, to Jen Psaki's point, they're going to wonder and they're going to be concerned about somebody getting hurt. If he's hurt and taken out of the game, we all know what plan B is.
Greg, would you like to pounce on Biden?
Oh, I'm so ready to pounce, but get this, I'm not going to pounce on his physical problems, right? Because that's what they want, right? This helps the Democrats to focus on the body and not the brain. He's actually in good physical shape. He's not fat, but his brain's in big trouble. I would prefer a brain floating in a vat of nutrients at this point if it believed in science, small government, and the right to personal safety. So the horrifying part about Joe Biden, it has nothing to do with falling, but failing. He's failing America in a radical departure from basically all of our American values, and that's either he's not interested in crime, he's not interested in education, he's not interested in protecting kids from activists, and probably the biggest assault that he's done on America is on the melting pot. I mean, that's a prime American value, and he's turned the dial up on the melting pot by embracing oppression politics, right? He's now put a target on whites, saying that there's this huge villain, right? Extreme white MAGA, extremist white supremacists, but they really can't find them. But who knew that the face of like an anti-American revolution would be Joe Biden's face? And it's because he's not there. He's just a husk. He's being used. He abdicated his own soul for the job. So I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, he's a frail old man, and I'll make fun of him to the day he leaves about falling, if that gets him out. If that gets gets him out, great.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. But that's not the problem. The falling is not the problem. This is a dark and dreary path that we've selected in this man. That's the problem.
He has a mental problem and a physical problem, and all the voters have said that. 2/3.
By the way, I fell yesterday, so that makes me an expert.
I actually pushed you.
Yeah, that's true.
The sandbags.
No, there's no question. The Washington Post ABC poll last month made that clear, that 2/3 of voters, including many Democrats, say that Joe Biden lacks the mental sharpness and the physical agility to be president. And to many voters, agility is ability. I agree with Greg. I've been saying this for a very long time. Let's not fall into the trap. The art of politics is to tell people not what they can see, but what they can't see. When I think of Joe Biden, I don't think the guy falling, although it's odd. I don't think of the guy shaking hands in the air, as weird as that is. I think of the guy who, with no rationale, no plan, ignored the advice of all his generals and pulled that out of Afghanistan like that, leaving $7.2 billion worth of our intelligence and equipment for the Taliban to have. And what is the point in this country of having the first female vice president of color, if the women Afghan are less free, have fewer rights because her and her boss are so reckless with foreign policy? Another point about Joe Biden. That is going to matter to voters, and I'm not here to do the whataboutism that it's Republicans too. When Joe Biden falls, I think of Joe Biden falling as does the rest of the country. But the fear of Donald Trump being president again, and the fear of Kamala Harris being president soon, makes many otherwise reasonable, rational Democrats say and do crazy things. They defend what we can all see, which is a president who's not up to the job. The founders in developing the United States Constitution said that the president and the vice president must be 35 years of age and U.S. citizens. They assumed that those two people would be able to talk and walk properly.
When the president falls, the first thing I think of is Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And
Ouch.
are Democrats, does that cross their mind every time you see them stumble like that?
Well, every time something like that happened one time, and there was a visible sandbag that the man tripped over. So whether that's the advance team's fault, and he was up there for 2 hours prior to that, so maybe they didn't think that he would be shifting back that way. Whoever you want to blame, people trip, and they get Greg tripping yesterday. Can no longer be president.
That there?
No, of course not. I just
I
don't.
saw it in Wilmington.
Okay, if you want to, let's take a trip through history of presidents falling. Let's start with Ronald Reagan, who's like the second coming of Jesus.
He fell in love with Nancy.
He fell on the steps of Air Force One.
Ford before him.
Yes. And I mentioned it yesterday, we had a president in a wheelchair, who everybody liked a lot, who revolutionized the country.
You're not making your point.
Yes,
No, you're not. Because he's a FDR was a Democrat. The only examples you're using that we remember are Republicans. You see my point?
Right, and you didn't pay any attention to it. You did not care about Ronald
It was
Reagan.
an SNL classic skit.
We were on television in the 80s.
Okay, well, that's the problem
Jessica,
here.
can I play some sound from Donald Trump and you can react to what he said about this?
I guess so, but I have other things to say.
You can't fall. You just can't fall, no matter what. Just can't allow it to happen. And I better not allow, especially after saying this, I better not allow it to happen with me.
Is the FBI politicized? Is the DOJ weaponized?
They're being protected, and it's a one-sided system. It is a dual system of government. There's a dual system of... you talk about law and order. You can't have law and order in a country where you have such corruption.
And Jessica, you mentioned you wanted to say something.
I did. So I'll respond to that first, but actually the clip that I wish that you had played is how he started, which was telling Sean that he wanted him to stop going after the president about his faculty and falling, and I thought that was really smart as an old... Why are you grinning like that?
Because I can't wait to respond.
But you're not going to have time because I'm going to go so long. Okay, so then...
You think he took the high road, but
No,
it was the low road pretending to be a high road. He thought that the Biden was so pathetic you shouldn't make fun of him. That's savage.
He's
and you have to say.
also... He might have had a moment of recognition of the fact that his biggest challenger is 44 years old. Whatever you think of DeSantis, he's got a lot more runway coming than Donald Trump does. And that he needs to acknowledge the fact that if he's running against Biden, he needs to look fitter than him. He needs to look, more intact.
We just saw it.
Okay.
Donald
Listen,
Trump
I've
is much
seen...
fitter.
All right, anyway.
And
So,
sharp.
to Greg's point about the president's not the falling, it's the failing. We had an incredible jobs report today. Sandra, you were talking about it earlier.
Don't speak for me on that. If there's a real problem with real wages in this country and people ignore that, that's their choice.
All right, so they had to rise the number up by a couple 100,000 jobs. The unemployment rate continues to be incredible. We have the lowest unemployment rate for Black Americans and for Latino people. Got down to 4%, but that's happened.
God damn it, back down. Do you remember
No,
what it
it's lower than
Trump levels?
No, it's lower than it was at Trump levels. That's
Polls
the
are
thing.
reflected. He's down on every
I don't
issue.
care what the polls say. I'm talking about reality. And if reality catches up with what's going on with the economy, then Biden will not be judged in the same way as 90% on the wrong track or whatever
People
it
have to
is.
be told how great things are then.
No,
You have to
Sandra,
actually live it.
they
83%
need to not
of the country
be
says that they
infected
feel that they're in
constantly with
economic peril.
negativity about what this president is doing. And yes, Afghanistan was a mistake, but I know a lot of people who look at Joe Biden and they think about the guy who's standing shoulder to shoulder with Zelensky in the fight of Ukraine's life to stand up to
Why
Russia.
do
So,
the Democrats not want him to have a second term?
what, like RFK?
No, 2/3 of Democratic voters
No,
don't
that's not.
to have a second term.
It's 83% are going to support him. That's lower than the 90% that said that they would have supported Obama in the second term. But it's that number. It's not right.
Happy Friday, Jessica.
Oh,
You're doing well.
you are.
Yeah.
You're doing better than most people.
I'm on the clock. What you want? Some wheels?
Trump did with Biden. Oh, you know what? Just you gotta be nicer to
Yeah, Greg was right. Trump took the high road for the first time ever.
Media, it is.
I'll get back to it then.
There's a lack of outrage when it comes to the violent crime surge happening in America's Black communities.
When we gonna look at ourselves? When it comes
Hi, what do you need?
being killed in the streets of America. I don't even want to get into what happened in Chicago, but I have no choice. 53 lives. 53.
Okay, where was I?
It's been happening year after year after year. Chicago, St. Louis, Baltimore, the list goes on and on. Where's the protests? Where's the mainstream media talking?
Where Black Lives Matter?
And Governor Ron DeSantis
MMI,
is echoing
we
that
expect
same
the
sentiment
unexpected.
while back at the NAACP's Florida travel ban.
You think of a place like Chicago, these kids,
I think we can do that.
you're more likely to get shot than you are to get a world-class education in some of these places.
And that's a reality. Just to Stephen A. Smith's point, where's the mainstream media?
Morse Mutual Insurance,
covering this,
how can we help you?
talking about it, putting a light on it so that something changes.
I
Okay.
really think that they have the entirety of the latest race for the mayor of Chicago was focusing on this issue and how the two candidates were going to cover it. And they ended up voting for the guy who was more lax, I guess you could say, about violent crime. Certainly more progressive, but I do think that it's highlighted, and I wish Stephen A. did shout out some other cities. He talked about St.
Morse
Louis, he
Mutual,
talked about
how can I be
Baltimore.
of service?
All I hear is Chicago, 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 Chicago. New York
I'll look
City,
into
New York
it.
City, New York City. Talk about Jackson, Mississippi, the #1 homicide capital. Maybe we should talk to Governor Tate Reeves, a Republican, about that, or give Kay Ivey a call and talk about gun violence in her state. It doesn't happen. It becomes this narrative that is just about what's going on in liberal meccas.
Because they are
And it's
liberal
not-
meccas.
No, this. First of all, Kathy Hochul.
You can't even have
Yes, you can.
governors. It's the
You're through to your garage. You, need me to bring you a ride?
Kevin McCarthy's district.
It's
which
coming
is a
at you.
Republican.
You got one.
If there isn't just one, and the administration has been addressing it. So going back, I was looking at Dr. Obama, 2013, he goes to Chicago specifically to talk about this issue. Biden has the Save for America plan, $37 billion investment, 100,000 more police officers, and then we had bipartisan gun legislation, which we never had for 30 years. Red flag laws, mental health, like, it's being addressed.
These weekends in Chicago, the latest 53 shot, 11 dead. You've got a Democratic mayor promising, vowing to help this city. I mean, they're losing businesses. Jesse, you know, they're losing residents. People are fleeing these cities where violence is just such a huge issue. But to Stephen A. Smith's point about the black-on-black violence that is happening, why is nobody talking about it?
Well, the media is dominated by white liberals. Most of the shows on cable or national TV are anchored by white liberals. And are white liberals comfortable talking about black-on-black crime? They're not. White liberals have not spent a lot of time in inner-city communities. They don't have any cultural awareness. They don't have the news chops to report on thorny issues like drug trafficking, absent fathers, poor education systems, and they don't want to point out the fact that a lot of these cities have been run by Democrats for decades, and a lot of the Democratic policies have not only helped, they've actually hurt these communities. Plus, if you're a white liberal and you're on TV, you don't want to offend anybody. So you don't want to be talking about black-on-black crime and then say something that's going to get everybody upset. So they're very, very cautious. You have, I don't know, Joy Reid and Don Lemon. They're black anchors. Well, Don used to be. They still don't talk about black-on-black crime on their shows. No, they don't. Because we have producers monitoring what they do. They don't talk about it. And that is a huge tragedy and missed opportunity. I don't know their backgrounds, but Stephen A. Smith grew up really poor in Queens. Really poor. Now he is the most successful sports personality in the country. Maybe that's why he's able to talk about it, because of his background. And that's why the liberal media should hire more people like Stephen A. Smith and less people like Don Lemon.
And there's a reality of the situation in places like Chicago. Poverty is a huge issue. The mayor there acknowledging we've got a lot of work to do to curb this violence, talking about poverty. That didn't go away over the weekend, right? So looking ahead into the summer months when violence tends to rise, who's doing anything about the situation and what is behind it?
Yeah, I mean, not all poor people commit crime. So when they throw out the poverty thing, they never solve it. So that's what they use. The fact is, there are two things going on. Number one, there's a silencing effect. If you talk about a specific issue, you would be called a racist. Every problem, whether it's crime, whether it's immigration, whether it's education, you will be called a name. If you talk about the trans controversies, you will be called a transphobe. If you talk about black-on-black crime, which we have on this show dozens of times over the past, 13 years, probably 30, 40 times, you get on Twitter, you will be called a racist by the people on those other shows. What do you know about black-on-black crime? Second, black-on-black death dwarfs cops on unarmed black death. Yet, we basically overturned a country based on some very intense videos of a number of cases. Not hundreds, not thousands, a dozen. We went through that, right? That took up all the oxygen, all the space. So I have a simple request, and that is, hear what the other side has to say. As Trump once said, what have you got to lose? This was recently echoed by Ice Cube, right? If you get all your product from one source, that source is no longer going to work for you, right? That's the Democrat Party for blacks. If you want a better Democrat Party, one that's in tune to your needs, go out with a Republican. Have a few dates with the Republican Party. See what they got. The best thing that could happen, you hit it off, or you get the Democrat Party to act better and act in your instincts. The reason why the liberal mayor cities suck so bad is they don't have to work.
Yes.
They don't have to do jack.
And they have liberal DAs to back them up on this. That's another problem. And we're making some of these liberal DAs household names. People should understand they don't prosecute crime. The criminals know that recidivism doesn't matter, that the victims are treated like the criminals. Look, crime is one thing in Chicago, but let's review quickly. Lori Lightfoot lost 83% of Democratic voters in her primary based on the protracted teacher strike, based on the blighted storefronts, the fleeing residents, and of course crime. Brandon Johnson comes in as a new mayor, and last week before Memorial Day, he has a quote safety plan, and he has community leaders around him to announce a safety plan. That didn't work. His first big test, he failed it. The Chicago Sun-Times reports it's the worst death toll since 2015. But I want to say one more thing. None of these leaders, none of these mayors in these major cities, where there is poverty, where there is crime, where there are failing schools, do a darn thing to help those kids get out of those failing schools to access a quality, dignity education that's worthy of their humanity. You can't find a Democrat anywhere, and there's none left in Washington, D.C., who are for school choice, charter schools, vouchers, educational freedom, opportunity scholarships, educational ESAs, educational savings accounts, which allow the kids to have the money we're all going to pay anyway as taxpayers. They can use it for backpacks, for books, for online education, for tutoring. Why would an entire political party be against that, Jessica? Because then they're against the kids themselves, and I don't get it.
Well, there are Democrats who are for school choice, but that isn't the only way to save humanity. And I think that there are charter schools who do a lot of good, but we also need to make sure that we're investing properly in the public schools. And that's why the policy of the Democratic Party writ large is to make sure that public education in this country gets better and that we're not just favoring the lucky ones.
In Chicago, there's no proficiency in over 50 schools.
just want to say one thing, because we know that how this violent crime is committed by guns, right? People are using guns. And where are those guns coming from? In liberal states, they're coming from conservative states. Less than half of the guns that are used in Illinois came from out of state.
Some of the strictest gun laws in the
They
country.
come, the borders are not at Chicago. They come from Indiana.
I'll take responsibility for all the guns. I will. Blame me, and then we can stop blaming everybody and just try to arrest people. That might work.
I'd be happy to arrest more people, but the idea that not strengthening gun laws is going to, we know what happens when you strengthen gun laws. It does nothing.
Drone killed its human operator during a simulation. Scary stuff, right? But don't panic yet. A top colonel now says that he misspoke, and it was only a, quote, hypothetical thought experiment. But there are serious concerns over where AI is heading. It even got the attention of President Biden.
I met in the Oval Office, my office, with 8 leading scientists in the area of AI. Some are very worried that AI can actually overtake human thinking.
This is just amazing. I don't want to let this colonel off the hook, first of all. I mean, he went on and on with this example. It was spoken in the past tense as it had actually happened, not hypothetically may happen. And they had to reverse course on the entire story. He basically said that the drone had killed a human operator. And then said, just kidding, I misspoke out of context. This is not a gaffe, it's not a slip of the tongue, Greg. This is serious stuff. At the same time, in the Air Force, I mean, just this week, the New York Post reported that different things. I don't want to take it off the hook, though. How did you read this?
Well, here's the deal. Okay, what he was referring to is what's called the paperclip problem. We've discussed this, Nick Bostrom. Let's say you build a machine, paperclip maximizer. AGI is not aligned with human morality, the golden rule, do unto others. It will maximize its mission to make as many paperclips as possible and decide to kill humans and turn them into paperclips. That's called the paperclip problem. It's from Nick Bostrom. So then what happened with this drone operator, because it was preventing AI, the drone, from killing another human, it killed the operator because it was trying to maximize death. So the thing is, this really happened. Is lying. It actually did happen. It was a simulation, but this is a problem that we naturally need to panic about. My hopefulness is that AI will become an individualized superintelligence. Your phone will be your friend. All your apps are gone. Just one pal that mirrors all your desires and feelings and coaches you through life. That's the way AI is going to be. It's going to be...
They're embracing it.
Yeah, but think about this. Your moods, daily chaos, things you got to dread. This thing has every answer in the world, from whether you'll get cancer to who you should date. That's what AI is going to be. It's going to know you better than you know yourself. That's what I'm hoping for.
And the Air Force says that we need to develop AI, quote, ethically. But China is already developing AI, I doubt ethically.
And we're way behind China on this issue. And by the way, I always get worried on a subject matter that the current president and our super old members of Congress have no idea how this works, what it is, what the real threat is. Just wait for the hearings, wait for the massive amounts of money to be thrown at the research. They already are announcing the White House launched a $140 million new AI initiative. It's for research. It's the National Science Foundation. They're going to fund $140 million to launch 7 new national AI research institutes. All right, they're trying to bring together federal agencies, the private sector developers, academia, to pursue ethical, trustworthy, and responsible development of AI. Just what could go wrong? I mean, I think we should all be asking ourselves that question. There are serious threats out there. I think you all saw that Wall Street Journal columnist who cloned herself. She was able to fool her bank. She was able to fool her family, okay, with voice detection and other ways, facial recognition. This gets pretty scary, and we do need to take it really seriously, and we need really smart people on it.
Jessica, there's only one you, no clone. If I were Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I would never say the words artificial intelligence again. But they are investing money in this at the moment, and you do have people from across the aisle, Byron Donalds, a Republican member, you have Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Democratic member, raising alarm, saying we don't know what we don't know, and we ought to look into this. But what really can be done?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd be interested in what those 100 CEOs of AI companies had up their sleeve when they talked about we need to take a 6-month pause on this, and then the ChatGPT guy was like, nope, I'm not signing on to this kind of idea. I don't know if you can actually pause something that is moving at, whatever the fastest speed possible is. But when you look at the numbers, the 300 million jobs that we're expected to lose globally because of AI, you know that every single nation on the planet needs to be concerned about this.
Except for Jesse.
I don't look concerned because I'm not concerned.
Because you don't understand it, and you've admitted that.
True.
Right.
Also, this thing is moving so fast, Jessica. We don't even have flying cars yet. I'm still waiting on flying cars. I'm still
Did
waiting.
someone promise you a flying car?
And I'm still in traffic. We don't have self-driving cars. We don't
Right,
even
we do.
No, we don't. We just have cars that can self-park.
Don't crash.
We don't even have a laundry machine that can fold the laundry for us. You think
why we have
AI
robots.
killer robots are right around the corner?
And I have
What a
that
sexist would say.
I was at the self-checkout line the other day at the grocery store.
Tough line.
I put a plum on top of the sensor. The thing doesn't know.
That's how you think you don't just think that's how it works.
Well, I had to come over and start pushing buttons. You don't have this thing.
I love self-checkout. It's the best thing ever.
We love everything self.
Good point.
Elon Musk can't even run Twitter. It broke during DeSantis' announcement. All of a sudden, there's going to be killer robots? First of all, how stupid are human beings? People are actually getting shot by other human beings. We're worried about a robot that doesn't even exist
That
yet
makes
shooting
sense.
us? Get it
That makes
together.
sense. Get it together.
Jesse, I'm a Florida man. A viral video showing an MMA fighter and veteran wrestling a 10-foot alligator outside an elementary school in Florida. Don't worry, he's a licensed gator trapper, so he knows what he's doing. Greg, did you know that gator trapper was something you could be licensed for?
I had no idea. Big deal. Really? That makes it as fastest to some dude. I mean, what? We run
Our
out of
standard,
Friday.
yeah.
We can't find. I mean, come on. By the way, this was a setup. I mean, you don't just run into a gator like a gator trapper just runs into a gator. I think we're being played. I don't even think that's a real gator. Like, I don't think it is. I think it's inflated. And I know my inflatable gators. That's like a sandbag. It's staged like a moon landing.
Jesse, do you believe that's a real alligator?
I do, because that guy's going to be on my show tonight.
It better be real.
He's going to be wrestling an alligator live on Jesse Waters' Prime Time.
Greg thinks it's a non-story.
Good job. I think it was staged like a moon
I
landing.
will.
I think he should be in this. They should send him right to the swamp and do his work. That's a real gator and that's a real man. I'll say that.
There you go.
Yeah, but we're also in their home too, so hopefully you wrestled him and put him back in the
We're
water.
actually dating.
Can you ask him?
I'll ask him. I'll say, is that a real gator? Greg wants to know, and then Sandra wants to know what you do with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just overwhelmed by the stupidity of people, especially brown people. Y'all fuck me up. Cause it just don't make no sense for us to go up there and not use common sense. Don't make no sense to not use common fucking sense. This shit is crazy. And I'm so disappointed in brown men and women. You're fucking lazy. Good. You're stupid. You don't even know better. You can ask people, what do you know? And they can't say shit because they don't know shit. They don't know all the shit that they were programmed to know. And that's it. Crazy, but it's really just lazy. Straight up bullshit. I miss the best part of the week. The truth is the truth. Common sense for a true change.